Good evening, and welcome to the desk. Tom Bands here.
It's like a news show the way you did that. Good evening, and welcome to the 8 o'clock news. Or is it 9 o'clock? I don't even know what time it is.
It's 8. I don't know how to...
You steal Tony's watch?
What, are you joking?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to touch that one. My watch game on control. Let's take a look at the North American standings right quick before I beat my coworker into oblivion. Space Station Gaming still up on top. Counter Logic Gaming number 2, despite the fact that they just dropped a very important set to Luminosity. And here, CLG are going to try one more time.
Tell you what, Tom, though, if they just played the way they did against Luminosity, they're going to be staying exactly where they are, but with another loss under their belt. That's what I can kind of feel about this one going into there. I don't know what was off in that set. That last set that we just saw, I don't know what it was. Homiefe, Snoopy, and Jigz just didn't have a set at all.
I know what it was. It was LG stepping up. They made sure to keep those players in check.
To be clear, I'm going to make that clear again. Like, I'm not trying to discredit LG in any way, shape, or form because I think they played absolutely amazingly.
Of course. But so when we watch these games, I think it's totally fair to say that CLG weren't on their top game. But I think it's important to note why that happened. And a lot of times you sit there and you go, well, I don't know. But if you watch the tape, it's very clear. Game number 2, Homiefe was specifically taken out of the conversation by the LG play to dominate the left side of the jungle.
I'm mentioning the LG thing again. The reason their comp did so well is because of teamwork. And the one thing they're about to run into in eUnited is a teamwork unit. So this is where I'm like, okay, can they bounce back in the second set of the day? Because it's going to be a big telling point for them.
Absolutely will be. You know, this is... So Ryan had said something about the European team, specifically Team Dignitas, that really reverberated with me, saying that these are all strong players, but when the going gets tough, sometimes they fall back onto individual prowess instead of team play. And I'm seeing that from CLG, which is... that's a problem. You have to be able to default into that team unit, which is why we've seen success from eUnited, because I think that's where they go.
Yeah, at the start of the season, if you actually look at how well CLG did, like that was team unity and all being on the same page, being able to run things like Vamana jungle.
Sure.
And the likes. Like, that shows you the reason why we're able to do that.
Well, right now we've got the next set on the way. It's going to be Counter Logic Gaming taking on eUnited. Give us picks and bans right now. Left side will be eUnited, and they got the first selection.
No P's and B's? No P's and B's?
Well, you gotta say the match court.
Pretty please?
I'll give it to you.
That's 2.
I got you for game number 2. How about that?
Yeah, I just want to hear it, you know? We don't get to the desk that often and do picks and bans, so I'm like, I don't even get the P's and B's? Man,
it's very hard. Literally my oldest colleague right here. You're almost 50, right?
It feels that way. This job makes me feel that way, I'll tell you that much.
Fans coming out from eUnited are going to focus on the hunter roll in the jungle, say goodbye to Daji and Hachiman, whereas CLG are going to do the same. Say goodbye to Soul and say goodbye to Nemesis. eUnited with the first selection
Janus.
overall.
Toth.
Will go Achilles.
Oh, okay.
They're thinking half-price apps.
Did Achilles play last game or was he banned out?
He did play last game. Weekend played him.
No,
that was game number 1.
Yeah, game 1.
Game number 2, we saw him in fineokay's hands.
So he's actually 2 and 8 so far.
Yeah.
This could be 3 and 8. We'll find out. Oh, 2 and 9. 2 and 9 is what you're really worrying about, like his win-loss ratio in the Pro League anyway. eUnited go for the Achilles first surprise, especially with Janus Toth being available. Yeah,
the new god. It's funny because week 4 is the first time we've seen him. This is day 4, week 4. Split 1, season 5. And watching Achilles sort of...
Do you just rehearse that through the day on purpose so you get it right when you do the SPL happen at the end of the day?
Yes. The Achilles was not fancy in his first shot, but here in the latter end of the week really has sort of stepped up. I'm done talking about him. I want to talk Artemis. This character, eUnited, and some other guys we've seen identify that, look, the hunter role, you can replace it with a mage, you can do certain stuff with it, but I like to see the late game hunters take prowess now.
It's also to do with the 2v2s. Like, this is the reason Artemis can come back in, the Jibbalong can come back in, because we've seen an actual 2v2 in the dual lane, which is something we didn't see in Season 4 whatsoever. If anything, they were left on their own. With the lack of wave clear and lack of survivability on their own, going to struggle. Good little safety net of a support with them alongside makes it a little bit easier to get that transition to late.
And those are the characters that are going to do well in the late game. So we see them repeatedly as Fafnir will be chosen here. No Hercules, Serket, no Jingwei or Athena. So Counter Logic Gaming now choose the short man, and eUnited will go for the tall lady. Terra will be the selection here. I think that's going to be in the hands of PolarBearMike. We'll see what this last choice is for the red, white, and blue. And Mercury with the jungle of choice. I think that puts Achilles over there in the solo lane.
Okay, very similar comp that I believe we saw them run earlier today, or very similar that we saw. Yeah, because Scream was on the when we newcasted. I was trying to work out if this was a very similar comp, and I think it is pretty much the same comp.
It's very, very similar. Vamana will be chosen here. I think this goes to fineokay, but like we said, Homiefe did bring out the jungle of Vamana once a time.
Depends what's in the solo lane up against it for CLG, because I think you said Camazotz there is Achilles, ridiculous amounts of sustain. But then again, Vamana, you know, he has the regen, but that regen takes a while to tick up, which means the execute could still come through.
Exactly. Listen, no special treatment here, Graham. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who wins game 1?
Off the picks and bans, I'm going to go eUnited. Based off how they've both played today as well, and I look at the picks and bans side, I'm feeling eUnited here.
Well, he's going to throw down his money. That's why he's the gambler. Let's toss it to the casters. It's Finch, and it's aggro.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Gambler. Finch and aggro here. We're going to be going into CLG versus LG.
Did we wear the same color jacket again?
Two
Are you kidding me? Finch,
We're
tried
not
to
actually. These aren't the same color.
I mean, but it looks kind of the same on camera. These are close enough in color that I thought I could get away with it, and then you just stuffed it like that.
Yeah, you know what? The good news is, though, that you're wearing your tie. Everyone loves this tie, and that separates us. It's very distinct.
You don't have a tie like this. Does anyone
Or
on
a
Earth
tie at all, to be
have a
honest
tie
with
like this? I mean, my goodness, what a tie this is.
Well, I want to know, though, chat.
Wow.
Not only do you love this tie, but who do you think's going to win this game? These are two North American powerhouses, or at least we thought for CLG struggled a little bit earlier today. Who's going to win this one? Vote in Mixer chat.
First of all, what is it about eUnited that makes teams just not want to play traditional hunters against them? Do they really do that well against ADCs that it's like, well, we just can't pick a hunter, so we may as well pick Camazotz and Vamana, just figure out which one we're going to throw in the hunter role. I don't know. PandaCat just must dominate normal hunters, and so you got to throw something weird at them.
Maybe it's harder to blink on them as Artemis if they're not playing a traditional hunter. Maybe that's what it is, to try and slow down the aggression that he likes to go for. But we are ready now to start moving into game 1 between CLG and eUnited, and it is going to be
Chulainn. Of course. Why wouldn't it be Chulainn, ADC? What else could it possibly have been?
Yeah, I wasn't even worried about it. I knew it was obviously going to be that. Chulainn, or rather Vamana, very popular for Homie. He likes to play this. We've seen him do well in it before. Camazotz, very strong in the solo lane. So just through process of elimination, through obviousness, I knew that it was going to be Snoopy playing the Chulainn in the hunter position. And of course, taking the Warrior's Blessing as the hunter, of course.
Through obviousness, huh?
Yes, obviously obviousness.
I must have missed the obviousness of that. In regards to whether this Chulainn is the right pick or the Camazotz or the Vamana, I do think that Snoopy just has so much bully potential in this lane against the Artemis. Artemis, no one hates escape. We talk about it all the time with her, is that she has a lot of trouble getting away from characters that can stick onto her very well. And Chulainn can certainly fit that mold. Now, is he going to get poked out? It's really, in the early game, kind of a matter of how often PandaCat gets lucky and gets those crits going. And already hitting one for over 100 on the minions. That's really such a big deal for these Artemis players.
Look where they're starting, though, Ryan. They're back Harpies. They're not going to come right to this lane. They're going to pick these up first, probably knowing that they weren't going to be able to out clear, then come in and try and defend. And PandaCat and PolarBearMike, they don't know where they're at, so they come back to their own bus instead of looking for the invade. I think this could potentially work out for CLG.
I'm very surprised that eUnited doesn't head into the enemy jungle, but because it is a Chulainn at level 1, and you don't necessarily want to be fighting up against that. Kind of the reason why it dissuades eUnited from invading there. But so a little bit of a unconventional start from CLG, but they're not going to get punished for it just because of where eUnited ended up going afterwards. If eUnited realizes what's happening and just goes and starts at purple buff and then goes to lane, they probably end up much farther ahead. But by the same token, eUnited's duo lane just got red buff and purple buff and didn't miss a wave. So CLG is going to be behind an XP in the early stages.
They do come back and grab their own purple buff, and now Rage transforming here is Snoopy, unable to get that time so they could have it happen for him in the mid lane. I do want to point out, this is not just Hunter Chulainn. This is Hunter with Blink Chulainn over here in the duo lane for CLG. So very much going to be needing to try and get some early kills or aggression or force outs to happen in this duo lane to make this pick work for them.
Man, Benji forcing fineokay out on the right-hand side. This Achilles in lane, I've been saying that I think it's better in jungle, and I still do, but with fineokay's performance last game, even in a loss for CLG, and now seeing Benji controlling, even against the Camazotz early on, you'd see why teams are really starting to like this Achilles pick in solo. Seems to poke out very efficiently while not taking a lot of damage himself.
Is able to get efficient trades, and the same thing is going to be said for PandaCat. Sprint comes out, got the rage perfectly timed. That health shield going to help him escape. Using the sprint to try and get out, but the stun does end up landing for PBM. Not in range as PolarBearMike, but he finds it over the top. Does PandaCat. First blood going the way of eUnited for the Artemis.
Normally, Chulainn levels 2, 3 don't really want to fight him, but just good aggression from PBM and PandaCat, who still, for my money, I mean, Jeff and Barra are right there, of course, but PBM and PandaCat seem to be able to take any 2v2 in any lane at any given time with any combination of picks. It just really impresses me how well they seem to work together, and they always are on the same page with one another. And normally not want to see Artemis fight against Chulainn early on, but United make it happen.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that because I very rarely get to see Artemis and Chulainn meet each other early on. But I do want to point out, PandaCat did have the red buff for that fight. It's not as huge early on, but that little bit of difference made the difference for them. They didn't have any margin for error to pick up that kill onto Snoopy, and it's just one more advantage that PandaCat had over him.
Oh, certainly. That was the differentiating factor, was that red buff, and that's a great point that it all goes back to eUnited's decision to prioritize getting their own red buff instead of invading on that left-hand side, knowing that even if they go back and go to their own buffs, maybe they won't get as big of a lead potentially, but with the red buff and the lead that they did get, it could be enough to make a play in that lane, and it certainly paid off for them.
And it's interesting because they were sort of able to do all that poke at once, Ryan. Look how many potions, even the health challenge that came out from Snoopy, building very similar to the solo Chulainn. He was okay trying to take the poke, I think, in lane and get that advantage slowly on top of PolarBearMike and PandaCat, but that was like one big sustained burst that they did, and those potions never got a chance to even matter.
It's PBM who did a lot of that lockdown and damage and kind of just let PandaCat finish it off when necessary. Panda's sitting at level 5, but Snoopy and Jigz both have leaps, so can't just pop that Caledonian boar whenever you feel like it. Gonna need to wait until Snoopy uses that mobility if he wants to play aggressive.
Yeah, and that ultimate is a big game changer in the lane for the Artemis in particular. That's normally, which she's able to get a pretty good advantage over whatever hunter she's up against. We'll see if she can do the same thing up against Snoopy on a Chulainn. And as you said, gonna need to time it to make sure she's able to get the lockdown on them and even get the trap in the follow-up. And there's the trap off the walls. Now gonna come out, here's the slow, and Snoopy takes a ton of poke.
Man, Panda probably wishes he had Blake right there. Snoopy would have been dead to rights, no doubt about it, but still couldn't close that gap. But getting pressure in this lane alone, I mean, the kill is just icing on top, just making sure the PandaCat is comfortable, not under pressure, is able to farm without any sort of worry of dying early on, being able to back and get your Devourer's Gauntlets on your first back without any sort of pressure onto you. Already, CLG's probably saying that this Chulainn pick hasn't worked out exactly the way they would have liked it. You probably want to get pressure a little bit earlier than even this 5-minute mark. Now, it's not to say that it's a failure or that it's not going to be good in the mid game or as the early game continues here. But still, I'll bet you that CLG wanted to make sure that PandaCat didn't just get a first blood and then back for Devo gloves this early.
Yeah, I can't imagine this is how they wanted it to go. But as you said, they still have a chance to make this pick end up working out for them. We spent a lot of time hovering over here in this duo lane, but don't forget Homie has picked up that Vamana for himself as they try to take the purple away from Jigz. What is it that Homiefe is looking for on this Vamana in the jungle in particular? I mean, because he has a lot of tools available to him. What's the one that makes the jungle work?
I think it's just the mobility and the ability to farm very quickly in the jungle right now. You're able to kind of stay in the waves or not really get too many waves and just pick up the camps very quickly and end up in a late game situation early.
Already down is Jigz. PandaCat finds that with a little bit of help from Screammmmm, who made the rotation over. Sprint is going again. I think they might want to keep looking for this one, and they do. Screammmmm got to get outside the tower line, uses the Aegis. That's 2 kills over in the duo lane, and no time for any kind of response from CLG.
Beautiful gank there by Screammmmm. We saw him do it earlier on today with his Mercury, and he's able to pull it off again with that Sonic Boom, and immediately eUnited go towards the Gold Fury now. Hurriwind is here, but new on your best steal potential. Gold Fury getting pretty low.
Gold Fury is low. It looks like they don't want to stick on this one, though. Homiefe and Hurriwind rotating over was enough, and that's actually a pretty big deal for CLG. 2 kills and the Gold Fury, that's a huge swing. Just those 2 kills, well, the duo lane was already behind, so not as big as it could have been for eUnited.
Gotta say, I love this Janus, Mercury, Terra sort of combo that eUnited's got working for them right now, because Mercury gets extra power based on his movement speed. Venenu's going to be able to boost him up with that threshold by giving him portals to boost Mercury's movement speed. Terra, of course, with that Terra's blessing, still at this point at least, gives you movement speed. So both of those picks work beautifully with Mercury, and just making sure that what he does best, that big instant burst of damage, is going to be that much more powerful.
Yeah, the mobility of both these junglers is going to be important. We talked already about how Homie's going to be able to get around the map relatively quickly with the dash, with the extra movement speed that he'll be building. Already seen that that's what he's prioritized from his boots as well. He wants to get around as fast as possible, so Scream got to make sure he keeps it up, and it looks like he's already charging the ultimate in solo and considering jumping in, and he does. Ends up landing it, but jumped over, perfectly timed there by fineokay. Not even going to be enough, though, as the damage comes out from Benji to help them secure it. Fire Shards almost gets him, and now coming in to finish it off is Homie finding the first kill for CLG to make it 1-for-1.
Scream going to be able to get out of there, though. Benji sacrificing himself, just tanked that tower a little bit longer than he wanted to, because Scream's ultimate was jumped over nicely by fineokay, but that's still, that was the last of fineokay's mana. He had to make a choice whether to go up into the bat out of hell afterwards and hope for some mana regen while he was getting CC chain that he'd be able to get up into that ultimate, or juke out the sonic boom and then ultimately fall to the damage from Scream. Benji trading out his life to make sure that Scream gets a kill under his belt. Completely love that call. Mercury's your hyper carry. Let him get as much farm as possible. Benji's going to be A-okay, even sitting at 0-1.
Especially because Benji was already doing pretty well in lane. Not as if he built himself up a huge lead, but I mean, he's the one with all the pressure. Take a look at that tier 1 tower. It's already at half health, so Benji takes a quick trip back to base, slows down fineokay a little bit more, and as you said, helps out Scream, and he's happy to do it. And once this Mercury starts to get online, it's going to be so difficult for the CLG roster to try and deal with it.
All right, I gotta say, I've been trying to hold back on this entire cast. That Artemis skin is so sick that I'm pretty sure that PandaCat is only playing Artemis as much as he is because he gets to use this skin. The first blood with like the orbital strike? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm 100% on board with you here. This skin is amazing. And you're right, I don't play that much Artemis personally, but I mean, I play a lot more now. That skin's good. And we're going to see a little bit out of here now, so make sure that you enjoy that one as much as I am. As they come back and pick up their own red buff, does this eUnited squad, and head back at another look at the duo lane, where despite the slow start for Snoopy, 0-2-0, at least experience-wise, doesn't appear to be too far behind his opponent. Take a look at the net worth chart, though. He is all the way down to the very bottom, about 700 or so behind, so that part is hurting.
It really is, and he's not even finished off his Warrior's Blessing, only halfway there, actually technically a little bit less than halfway there.
Wow.
Needs 15 stacks in order to get it. PandaCat just not going to let himself get hit very often by Snoopy. Now, Snoopy's of course going to eventually finish off that Warrior's Blessing, but to be 10 minutes in and have not finished that off quite yet, it really tells a story that he has not been in the spots that he wants to be in so far in this lane. He wants to be on top of PandaCat, forcing him back, zoning him off of waves, poking him out consistently. But Panda's already 53 stacks deep in that Devourer's Gauntlet. It's not going to happen at this point.
It's pretty crazy, really, because it's not particularly hard for Chulainn to get those stacks either. So that he hasn't been able to find them so far really shows how well PandaCat is controlling this duo lane so far up against the Hunter Chulainn. It is very cool. I agree with you. Yes. We saw for a moment Scream was thinking about coming over for the gank in the solo lane. We have seen some presence from Scream in both lanes. Hasn't really been sitting anywhere in particular and trying to keep fineokay honest over here on this Camazotz.
I mean, you were asking why we see Homie on this Vamana jungle. Take a look at his net worth right now. Highest in the game. Now he's going to gank Benji on this left-hand side. Benji very low on mana. This worked against fineokay earlier, and it might work on the other side now for CLG.
Homie is the one taking the tower, but in this big baby form, I don't think he's going to have really any trouble doing it. fineokay is the one that ends up getting the last hit, but coming over for Venenu, finding the unstable vortex of a little help from the tower, gets a kill, and now fineokay is on the wrong side of this. If they can get the rotation from Scream, they'll certainly have a chance to find this kill as well. Unstable vortex hits, chunks him, portal drops him down too. He might not even need Scream.
No, there's going to be a solo kill for Venenu, and that portal is so great because with leaps that have on-hit effects whenever they land, you actually can CC a lot of characters out of that by Venenu laying the portal underneath the minions. It prevented the heal from coming through from fineokay, which would have been enough to potentially save his life in that situation, but Ven knows that's fineokay's best out, plays around it perfectly, and finds himself 2 kills on that rotation. Love that play from Venenu.
And we're talking about how scary it'll be when late game Mercury ends up coming out or PandaCat on this Artemis, but that's nothing to talk about the mid game and then the late game of Venenu on this Janus pick. So giving him 2 kills, helping him get up to level 13 and accelerating his build where he's already starting to itemize into some pen. I mean, that's scary in its own right.
I just don't know that CLG's draft matches that scariness you were just talking about from eUnited. I mean, Nuwa phenomenal in the late game, probably the best late game mage that there is, but late game Camazotz doesn't really do a whole lot for me. Just does decent damage, but doesn't actually find any CC or anything like that. Homie's late game build has been really, really good. This pick is designed to get to late game for Homie, and that's why we see him kind of itemized for low power in the early game and just movement speed and attack speed and let his base damage kind of do the talking until he can just start pounding you down in the late game with auto attacks. But outside of that, I mean, would you rather have a late game Artemis or a Chulainn ADC? Give me the Artemis, even the base skin Artemis. It doesn't really matter. You're
I don't know. That's
more.
you're kind of moving into craziness now at that point.
Give me Convention 2012 Artemis. Good skin, by the way.
It's a good throwback.
Red-headed Artemis.
PandaCat, though.
They're all kind of red-headed, aren't they? It was just like red armor.
Yeah.
Artemis.
Everyone having a good time this game for eUnited. Remember earlier in the game, they were trying to start up this gold for you, but the rotation over from Hurriwind and Homie was enough to stop it. eUnited going to be giving that a take 2. I don't think this is going to be any easier for them, though, as Jigz and Hurriwind are nearby. And that presence from them, that's all that it took, and they're going to end up having to back off of the objective. They've got the damage for it, but they don't feel comfortable taking the fights.
It's because CLG secured those oracles. PBM tried to steal those away with the crushing walls, but wasn't able to do so. And just that little bit of presence alone, I mean, CLG's dive composition is so strong here. I mean, PandaCat, as good as he's going to be in the late game, is going to have a tough time dealing with how much damage he's going to have to avoid, whether it's Homie's blinking in and an unpeelable Vamana, unpeelable Camazotz, Nuwa ultimate that's guaranteed to land as well. PandaCat's going to be on the run in the late game. There's no doubt about it.
And I do like the itemization we're starting to see from CLG already in that regard. It's going to be Screammmmm and PandaCat both using those basic attacks trying to get damage off, and the hide-in-a-man line has come out for both Snoopy and for fineokay. Very strong at reflecting that damage. Looks like they're going to be itemizing into some more physical damage. A lot of mid-guardians have been coming out lately. Certainly couldn't hurt here.
I mean, Nemean's just good against Artemis because she can't really control when she's critting you a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just end up doing more damage to the opposition than you really want to. It's always funny just praying that you don't crit your enemy instead of praying for them. You're like, oh god, I hope I don't crit here.
Screammmmm, though, is going to be looking to go in with the dash. Doesn't find the stun off that, but gets a little bit of help from the rest of the team. Going to be able to chase him down with that Terra's Blessing. Snoopy falls in 0-3-0 for the ADC Chulainn.
It's just that physical damage, even with the hide anemia line early on, isn't going to be enough to stop that pressure from Screammmmm, and that's why we kind of see this extra warrior potentially in this lane, is knowing that eUnited has so much physical attack damage that really is going to be itemizing into something along the lines of crit.
Gold Fury is down. Gold Fury is gone already. eUnited steal that one away before anyone from CLG can come over to contest. So now not only do they have the 5-kill lead, 7-2, they also have the gold lead going in their favor. We can see that approaching 3,000 at this point in the game. The experience has been a little bit up and down, but this gold lead has been kind of steadily creeping up in eUnited's favor.
And gold is one of those situations where in this particular lineup for eUnited, normally you'd want, a good mixture of XP and gold, but it really feels like gold is more important to this eUnited roster because the late game hyper carries are physical damage dealers, and most of the time magical players, that they want the levels. They get a lot of their damage from the base stats and that kind of stuff from their kits. Physicals, they need items, specifically crit gods need items in order to become effective, and so that's why it's actually better for United in this situation to be getting a bigger income of gold.
It is going to help them out with their itemization, but Benji going to be looking to see if he can take the blue buff. Not going to be an option, though, with Homie right around the corner. They drop that. He does not want to stick around and fight this one, though, does Homie. He backs off and kind of lets fineokay deal with the terror that is Benji on an Achilles all by himself. And you can really see the pressure Benji's been able to establish. He's been standing at the tower line of fineokay almost all game. He got that early game gank from Screammmmm, and I don't know if he's seen the man since. He's kind of just been bullying fineokay the best he can.
That's what you expect from Benji, no matter what the pick is. But this Achilles certainly seems to be doing pretty well for himself in early game damage. I think every game we've seen him in, despite the lackluster record, it's been Achilles near the top of the player
What's that
damage
record
charts
again, by the way?
towards the beginning. What is it now? 2-8, I believe.
Not good.
It's subpar, to be sure.
It's not great.
I would not describe that as great. Yes.
No.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that it is not good. But you're right. It hasn't felt as though Achilles has been the problem in those games as this tier 1 tower. It's going to fall down. Snoopy cannot hang up against Screammm, and PandaCat together gets pulled down into the stun from the boar. Only needs one more in hand. Made ya look, Snoopy. And you're going to end up paying for that one. He goes back to base as one more kill goes the way of eUnited. Venenu going to continue pushing in aggressively. Forces Homie away as they're going to continue to pressure the tier 2.
This team composition from eUnited has such great tower shroud, especially when you factor in an upgraded Frenzy already at this point. I mean, no minions here, so this tower going to be extra tanky to the damage from eUnited, but once the minions arrive, this tier 2 tower should fall quickly.
Hurry is around the corner, but he's not going to make it in time. No ultimate for PandaCat, which would be good here, but the stun comes out, avoids the Clay Soldiers. eUnited take the tier 1, the tier 2, the kill on Snoopy, and the clean disengage for good measure, and they get on out of there.
Love that play from eUnited and love this Frenzy from PolarBearMike. We saw it earlier on today as well. It's just so good with these hyper carries that rely on attack speed and that extra little bit of penetration that it gives them as well. Just love these 2 relic items right now from PBM. The Belt of Frenzy and the upgraded Sprint, which gives both Screammm and PandaCat that haste movement bonus that makes them lose that basic attack penalty. Now, because PBM went for this, don't love Screammm going for haste katana on top of it, but overall, you're not always going to have the Sprint available, so it's not so bad.
I mean, we saw him use it a little bit earlier to help find the kill onto Snoopy when he was trying to disengage, so he has gotten some value out of it. But you're right, they're a little bit doubling down on that haste effect, and now they're going to try and put it to good use. They pull the Pyromancer. fineokay is here. Hurriwind has not made the rotation yet. Not going to be able to stop them, though, from grabbing that Pyro. In fact, forced to use the ultimate just to get away. eUnited have firmly been in the driver's seat all game long.
It all started with that duo lane first blood. When you lose pressure with ADC Chulainn against the Artemis, you're in for a rough game. And with how many physicals CLG have, 3 physicals, only Fafnir, and Nuwa damage certainly going to be relevant, but Fafnir damage probably not. PandaCat himself has gone for a Midgardian Mail to give himself that much more survivability.
And I was going to note that earlier, too, itemizing into a little bit of that physical defense. And, I mean, I guess that's fair. He's not as worried about, making sure that he has plenty of damage. Not if PolarBearMike's going to itemize this way. It's almost a full item sitting in the relic pocket of PolarBearMike for him with all the pen and attack speed that he'll be getting, and the haste effect as well from the Frenzy and the Sprint. So maybe they can afford to do this when PolarBearMike itemizes this way in the relics. Now,
I don't love him delaying his Executioner for this item in this slot because Executioner is going to be so important for him. Plus, it's taking up, now he has to choose between Chin Size and Titan's Bane right after the Executioner that he should be going for here. Could eventually sell the Ichabod for the other one, but then you're giving up Odysseus Bow. So PandaCat is certainly losing something for this build, but it's going to gain him a lot more survivability, not only by way of the physical protection, but just the HP as well.
And it is going to be very helpful for him. CLG, though, they've decided that it's going to take a lot of auto attacks from Screammm and PandaCat to get this job done with Thorns, with Midgardian Males, and Hide-to-Man Lion. We'll see how well those impact the fight as it's already started. Snoopy very low and has those Thorns ticking, but eUnited does not seem deterred. Scream's going to blast through, as is Venenu with the through space and time, and the target is Snoopy yet again on the backside. It's going to be PolarBearMike looking to lock him down. A little bit of help from Benji. They find it. Unstable Vortex comes through as well, so fineokay has to back off, but the damage back on the Screammm is actually pretty strong. Up into the air is going to be fineokay, but cannot find the last hit, and eUnited again can back and heal.
Screammm healing up a little bit while Benji handles Hurriwind basically all by himself on the top side there. PBM in support as well. And even though some members are low,
there's not enough damage.
eUnited, they don't do a lot of damage to these frontliners right now with the lack of pen they have. But they certainly do plenty to the objectives. That Gold Fury falls in the blink of an eye.
CLG, even with a fight that maybe wasn't perfect for them, but they had certainly had plenty of opportunities to get their damage off, it just feels like they don't have enough to go up against this eUnited roster, especially with PandaCat itemizing somewhat defensively. They take the tier 1 here in mid and bring fineokay very low as Benji continues to frontline for them and be immovable. Level 20 right now in this Achilles, and I don't think he's thinking about retreating anytime soon.
Fire Giant even pulled now by eUnited. Homie knows this is going on, but Venenu and Benji are pretty good.
What can he do?
Zoning him away. Screammm on the way in, and This Fire Giant could fall quickly here, Finch.
They're putting in a lot of damage onto the Fire Giant, below half health, but they're trying to force them into the fight more than anything. Ultimate being charged right now by Scream, and he finds 2 targets with it into the unstable vortex damage from Venenu, now using the through space and time to set him up for the slow, and then the stun from Benji. Execute just for the damage rather than the actual execute itself. They don't find another kill, but they already blow up Homie, and now they can back up.
But CLG did prevent the Fire Giant pull for the moment, but eUnited right back to it. PandaCat very low on mana. Scream and PandaCat fairly low. This is pretty risky.
fineokay is going to go in, forced to use the bat out of hell. Wants to try and force the damage healers off the Fire Giant, but he's forced to retreat. Knocked up is PolarBearMike and takes a good bit of damage. eUnited are not able to cleanly do this Fire Giant. They've got to retreat, and not going to let them do it easily here is Snoopy, who blinks in. Terra's Blessing comes out in response, forced to use the ultimate, but is stunned, and controlled. Now he's going to come back in with that Rage form to try and find a little bit more, but I think all the targets he can kill have already gotten out.
But because CLG wasted that much time of eUnited, they get that tier 1 tower in mid because of fineokay split push. And it just comes down to me, Finch, just not enough penetration by this point in the game against CLG's roster. I mean, just now, PandaCat finishes off that Executioner. Scream only has a stone-cutting sword, which really doesn't help him that much. I mean, he's stealing away, what, 30 protections? That's nothing compared to how much Snoopy has on the Chulainn, and that's before you factor in Jigz' sovereignty applied to everybody. eUnited just needs more penetration right now. Unless CLG can really just get in on top of them and stop them from doing that damage. I mean, despite being 9k down, almost everybody feels pretty unkillable on CLG right now. It's going to help with PandaCat finishing off the Exy, but Titan's Bane can't come fast enough.
They're going to need a little bit more help up against this Tinky squad, enjoying the 8,400 gold lead that they've got in their name along with the experience lead. I did want to point out, though, again, more as a sign of how much of a struggle it's been for Snoopy. Still didn't have that Warrior's Blessing finish last time we saw him at 14 stacks. This long into the game, 24 minutes. That's pretty crazy.
That is insane.
To not have been able to get that finish by now. That means that he's hit another person with an ability 14 times all game.
That's
right around there if you do it during the cooldown.
Exactly, but it's close. It's certainly
right
close. That is preposterously low, and especially with a Chulainn that you can literally just be near someone and press 2, and the Vent Anger will tick it off. So
yeah,
certainly not the game that Chulainn ADC wanted.
And continuing to see that he's not going to have much of an impact here in the game. Fire Giant's already down, though. Not going to be able to get anywhere near this. It's CLG. Jigz is the one that's trapped inside the trap and forced to go up into the Draconic Corruption, but immediately gets blown up by Venenu. There's the damage that they needed. And now they're going to try and collapse on top of him, but it's too much damage from eUnited. Venenu with the through space and time finds himself a double kill. fineokay has absolutely nowhere to go, and Benji finds that kill as well. 3 members down for CLG and a Fire Giant, and Scream's going to come look for Homiefe, who's going to be able to dash away.
Homie does have the blink available, and Scream does not have a blink, so Homie's out of there. But all of CLG ignore Venenu.
Yeah.
When he stands there, watches Jigz transform. Everyone else from CLG is screaming past him. He's like parked in the parking lot, just waiting. Everyone goes running by him looking for PandaCat and for Scream. Venenu just gets to drop the portal and clap down Jigz, and my man never got to hit the ground with those dragon feet. He just died right away.
Yeah, and Jigz getting taken out of that fight so early was such a problem for CLG. The control that he provides would have been a big help for them. Instead, they all end up collapsing, grouping up for the rest of Venenu's damage, and PandaCat as well. I mean, they got blown up, did that CLG roster. No more tier 2 towers remain on the map for them. All the extra gold, all the extra control going the way of eUnited as they continue to push. And they still have another 2.5 minutes on this Fire Giant. They can backspin that gold and come back and make the Phoenix push as well.
And the problem with itemizing against Mercury and Artemis so heavily for CLG is that Venenu just gets to run rampant through these team fights. I mean, it's only 10,000 damage, but it's been 10,000 very relevant damage so far for eUnited, and it's really resulted in a ton of kills. I mean, he's got the most last hits on the team. 5.
Yeah, they've felt every point of that 10,000 damage that Venenu has right now, going to his credit. 5-0-2 for the mid laner for eUnited, but it would be hard as we do have a pause coming out here right now for these teams to try and say that there's one member of this squad that's making it happen for eUnited. They're playing so well as a team. Screammm with these ganks. I mean, PandaCat is doing tons of damage here too. And
yeah,
everyone on the squad looks so strong.
And it just really comes down to
almost like they're world champs.
Almost like that. It's almost pretty similar. The team composition, I just think, is beautifully crafted by eUnited. I already talked about the synergy between the movement speed that all the characters can give to Mercury to make sure that he's there and available, but the ability to cover a ton of ground between Terra's Blessing, through space and time, Sonic Boom. You got plenty of ways to move your teammates and yourself around the map. Plus, Benji's done a great job of being aggressive on this Achilles, and even when he does get in trouble, Terra's Blessing's there to bail him out, or the rest of the team is there to bail him out. eUnited just working together, not only with the picks that they have, but how well they can use their own player tendencies to really show it off. I mean, it's Screammm picking someone up and tossing him right into Venenu's damage because he knows that he can't finish him off himself. He needs that magical burst. eUnited just looking like themselves again.
And it's good to see them looking so good. A little bit tough here. I don't want to beat up on Snoopy, but I mean, this Chulainn ADC pick, it really hasn't worked out for them here just so far in this game.
Look, Snoopy's been playing weird stuff in dual lane since the very beginning. I mean, he's been playing Mercury ADC, Vulcan ADC, and he does it very, very well. Chulainn, I think we experimented with, and we can go ahead and cross that one off the list. But
Snoopy also plays Hunters very, very well. I mean, I mean, sure, he
plays some ROM,
he plays a lot of stuff that's not always traditional, but he's as good of a hunter as anyone else,
without a doubt. I mean, his ROM is legendary, so may as well. This is the time to experiment, I suppose, and I don't know. People just, I really feel like everyone's getting caught up in this. Oh, Hunters are really bad right now, guys. We can't play them in the dual lane. They don't do anything. Well, tell that to the way PandaCat's played, not only in this game, but in the almost every United
tell
set.
It's a clout,
clout for the last game for Luminosity. I really do think it's a mentality thing more often than not with the way that a lot of players are thinking about how Hunters are impacting the map.
And we've talked about it before, Ryan. I mean, you and I have. It's a change from Hunters before in when they're relevant in the game. We kind of get a little bit used to Hunters being good almost the entire game, and now it's sort of like maybe a little bit towards the end of the mid game into the late game when they're kind of supposed to come online. That's when we feel it now. And because we're used to it being a little bit better than that, maybe we overreact a little bit.
You know what, Finch? You're right. I love all these salty Hunter tears. Everyone's crying about how they don't get way far ahead anymore, and oh, Hunters do nothing. Hunters have been the only damage class in competitive for 2 straight years. Mages have been irrelevant. This is what I want to see.
Already going in is going to be eUnited, or rather it's Homie who's trying to go to the backside and find PandaCat. Has the thorns ticking, so PandaCat could only try and run, but that wasn't enough. Perfect stun yet again from Homie. Through space and time might not have been on the mark, but the rest of the team is. They're going to force Hurriwind up into the air early on with that fire charge. That's one of his safer cooldowns.
Even consumed that Soul Reaver passive as Screammm. In the mid lane, putting a little bit of pressure there as the rest of eUnited
He's got 2.
Heading towards the left. Big damage onto that Phoenix already, especially once that Frenzy's popped. Snoopy already down to half HP.
Yeah, Snoopy's already been brought very low, but the rest of the team is focusing on the Phoenix. Coming in to Screammm to try and help out a little bit more, but no one's able to get in front of Venenu, and he's going to be able to keep chunking Phoenix on the left-hand side, ends up falling. eUnited now can start moving right on over to the mid lane. Fire Giant is falling off, though. Only like 2 more seconds available on that, so their push is going to be a little bit worse. eUnited going to come down, clear up the wave, and still make 1 more push. Another minute until the Fire Giant's back up.
No, it looks like eUnited is going to call it off, and I like that decision because of the fact that Fire Giant fell off and that Frenzy is gone from PolarBearMike. Those two together are a big reason why that Phoenix on left side went down so quickly.
Is that the Pythagorean piece that we're seeing there on PolarBearMike? Going for going for a little bit more of a little bit aura damage. I mean, auras are always in the supports, but not always damage auras, I suppose.
I mean, it gives PandaCat a little bit of extra life steal to try and deal with these Hunters that are jumping on top of him. It gives everyone else around him a little bit of extra power because PandaCat went for a little bit of a defensive, defensive item with a Midgardian Mail, so that kind of makes up for the lost damage that he's gone for and that Screamm's gone for with 2 defensive items. And the Midgardian and the Hide of the Nemean Lion boosts up Benji's damage. Venenu's going to benefit. Plus, the reason that we see it be possible for supports to buy this item early on these days is because of the extra health that is on it now. About 200 HP for that item, so you aren't just sacrificing all of your tankiness by building this to help out your squad, you're still getting a little bit of effective tankiness against the opposition.
I kind of love this build from PolarBearMike. He's like a 7th and 8th item for the rest of his team. I mean, the Shoguns, the Gauntlet, the Pythagorean's Piece, the Sovereignty as well. And then when you tack on the relics that he selected with the Frenzy and then the haste effect on the Sprint, I mean, sure, build a Midgardian Mail because you've got a whole nother item and a half coming in whenever PolarBearMike is nice enough to stand next to you. This build, I mean, it's the synergy across build. It's not each player has 5 builds, the team has 1 build.
You're completely right, and if you factor in the extra damage that PBM has done, courtesy for his teammates, courtesy of the Frenzy and the Shoguns and the Pythags, probably has got more than Snoopy right now.
Yeah, he's looking really strong for him as Benji goes in aggressively stun, comes out onto Snoopy, but it's the damage onto Jigz from the Unstable Vortex that's actually rather potent, forces him to back off for the moment as Scream continues to push over on the right-hand side. Homie has to back up as well, and now with the Frenzy popped, Venenu is free to start putting in damage on the Phoenix. Scream crashes through with his ultimate, and Venenu very kindly follows up with the damage. Snoopy is down. fineokay has the Thorns, but he's getting chunked by those crits coming out from Panda as well and is forced to retreat. Sprint comes out, and the rest of eUnited barrel into the Titan room. Benji blows up fineokay, and through the portal come the rest of eUnited. Phoenix is down to half health, or rather the Titan is. Titan down to a quarter health. eUnited look like the eUnited of old up against CLG.
Wow, only 2 kills for CLG in that one.
Wow.
Just dominated by eUnited. And you know what? I'm done. I've had it. I just want to see hunters again, Finch. I'm done with the assassin mage, hunters or the warrior hunters. Just play a damn hunter, man. I'm sick of it. You're just handing eUnited free wins at this point. Come on!
Well, we do want to know, and there's a ton of choices for you. Who do you think is going to be the MVP here in that game? Everybody on eUnited could take it. Give it to PolarBearMike. I mean, he basically built for the rest of the team. I mean, give it to that dude. He built another extra item and a half for everyone else. But Ryan, we could probably sit around and talk about that game all day. I imagine. Maybe not you.
Could.
You kind of got the allergies going on.
I got the sniffles right now.
Yeah, let's bail aggro out then with the allergies and get it over to the desk where I think it's Graham and Tom who are waiting on us.
Yeah, you're right there, Finch. It is Graham and Tom.
Yep.
I don't know how you throw your co-caster on the bus like that.
Well, like what?
He's making fun of aggro for sounding like SpongeBob.
I thought the fans knew anyway. His tie is like, he's been drying his nose in it the whole day.
Okay, that's funny actually, but I like that tie.
Nah.
That tie says that he's having fun and he's happy to be there.
Do you know what? I like that tie as much as I like seeing warriors in the hunter role.
That means you don't like him.
Exactly.
Because Snoopy certainly didn't turn up as he expected. 16-2 was the kill count here.
MVP, you guys better be voting for it. It was Snoopy. He was feeding eUnited all day. They've looked down and out all season. This warrior stuff needs to stop.
Here's
and Aggro's completely right. I was actually going to tear about this because I want to. Give me that single. Give me that single camera right here. Come here. Come here. Yeah. Listen, I've had enough. There's enough of these warriors, okay, in the duo lane. It's not working. It's not worked once. We have seen the odd assassin do it. Move on. Move on. On behalf of everybody who's watching the SPL, it sucks. Thank you.
I'm not with it. I think.
No, it's terrible.
I think it depends on.
Do you know? I chose the word terrible there for the simple fact I want to swear.
I think it depends on the matchup, the player, and the character chosen. Don't give me the word warrior. I want to see the holistic here. We'll continue our conversation in a moment. Shouts to PolarBearMike. He's going to go ahead and be the MVP. Say something nice about Mike.
He did it to him.
2-0-10 here for the support player playing the Terra. Really, really strong stuff. One of the last times, if not the last time, that we see Terra in her current iteration. She will be turned around. But, it's a support highlight reel. We can talk over this one. So.
It's true. It's true. It is.
Realistically, and you and I disagreed about this off camera, I don't mind Chulainn over there in what I'm just going to start calling the carry role now, because that's what I think you need to have. If you remove the hunter and you replace it with a different character, it has to be somebody that can carry, and what I mean by that is be offensive. I didn't like the defensive Bologna that we saw earlier on. I liked Vote's Camazotz. I didn't mind the Chulainn because the Chulainn in that position with the right itemization, think jungler itemization, can do it. What I didn't like about it was building tank. We saw it happen earlier today where 4 tanks came out, one damage dealer wasn't enough. If you're going to remove the hunter from the conversation, bring me something that can deal damage. Another tank isn't going to do it.
The thing for me with this whole thing has been, like, I'm pretty sure this is just a scrim thing that happened where everyone's like, let's play some tanks and see how it works. Oh, tanks seem to work. Hey, you guys seem to think so too, right? Yeah, we're scrimming against each other, and these scrims seem to be working out. That warriors seem to be the way to go. SPL comes around, and you just give away wins.
I think we need to get rid of the class discussion, man. Warriors in the carry role, it depends on the warrior. It's totally character dependent. It really depends on what you're bringing.
We're gonna disagree.
Like I said, if you're gonna bring a tier over there and you build aggressive, I can see it. Tier can carry a game. Chulainn, you're sort of wading into a different world. A Hercules, sure. What's the most defensive warrior? I'm blanking right here. But my point is the fact that if you have the offensive prowess, you might be able to replace the hunter. But if you're going to be a tank, just replace the solo laner of the jungle.